you get a flu shot this year? The realities of contagious diseases have been with us for a long time. Although this is historical, it's certainly not dry. It's a drama of daily death as a fever sweeps through Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1793. 16-year-old Matilda Cook is separated from her sick mother, and she learns what it takes to survive and care for those she loves when she's forced to cope with the horrors of the yellow fever epidemic in her hometown. Read Fever 1793 and find out who survives and at what cost.
Hello. You're going to be reading a story about a deadly disease called yellow fever. It was especially deadly in 1793, when people didn't yet know how it was spread or how to treat it. The disease is actually spread by mosquito bites. It's not spread from one person to the next. They didn't know that back then. In 1793, Philadelphia was the capital of the U.S. and George Washington was the president. This ends up becoming one of the worst epidemics in U.S. history and was so devastating that it almost completely destroyed the city of Philadelphia.
There were several yellow fever epidemics in the 18th century and several more in the 19th century. But the 1793 epidemic devastated the capital of the new nation. The government left the city. George Washington left the city. Some members of his cabinet were detained in other states as they were returning to their homes. Many of the medical practitioners left the city. Their families certainly did. And others stayed behind and attempted to tend to the sick citizens of the city, many of whom were dying.
Now, our story begins in a coffee shop where Maddie works as a young girl. The story is actually narrated by Maddie, so it takes place from her perspective. She lives above the coffee shop that her widowed mother and grandfather own. The fever breaks out in town, destroying everything that is in its path. Maddie is forced out of town with her grandfather, not knowing if she'll ever see her mother again, who has become ill with the fever. Maddie soon discovers, no matter where she goes, the fever is around, and she too becomes sick. Maddie has to overcome many obstacles to make it back to Philadelphia. Once she arrives back, she realizes it's not the same town as it was before. In your packets, you'll find a map similar to the one that you see on your screen right now. Yours is in black and white, so take a close look at the one on your screen in color. You can see the lines are different colors representing the percentage of mortality or deaths from yellow fever during the 1793 epidemic. We can see the yellow lines represent 0, and then it moves up from light orange, which is 5 to 10%, all the way up to the dark reds, which you can even see on your black and white version. And that represents the 20 to 67% rate. So in those areas that were hardest hit, we had up to 67% of the people who were dying from this disease. In your packets, after studying this map, and you can pause this video if you need to study it more carefully, but in your packets, go ahead and respond to the 3 questions in preparation for our class discussion. I hope you're as excited to read Fever 1793 as I am. Now go ahead and step back in time and read the first 5 chapters.